healing the father wounds. If you have been following my videos and channel for some time, I speak a lot about spiritual healing, shamanism, and these type of practices. And one of the major aspects of that is, of course, shadow work. Spirituality is definitely not all about love, light, and peace, although they are small portions of it. It is more about diving into our own shadow, because that's really where the light can come in. Light can only enter where it hurts the most. It's like what the philosopher and poet Rumi once said. So the father wounds. We have to understand masculine and feminine energy. Both men and women have masculine and feminine energy. But what we see in our modern culture, in a lot of Western men especially, is that more men, they tend to lean towards more of the feminine side. But then we have also the men who are completely out of balance with masculine energy and perhaps have too much masculine energy, and that's being labeled as toxic. And a lot of men, they don't want to be toxic men, you know, so what they do, they fall completely to the other side. First, let's talk about the yin and the yang, the balance between the feminine and the masculine energy. Feminine, of course, is that of the heart, of the intuition, of creativity, of fertility, of giving birth. This is a very, very beautiful, sensitive energy that is very, very powerful. The power of women who have a lot of feminine energy, they can really, like, their energy can completely show parts of the soul within a man, and they can bring a man to their knees with their beauty and their sensitivity and their femininity, so to speak. But then you also got to see it. The feminine energy is basically like the pearl, and the masculine energy is like the shell. And therefore the pearl has to be harbored within the shell itself. This is the power and the strength of the masculine energy. Of course, you could say it protects, it provides, it has focus, it has logic, it's that of the minds. The feminine is that of the heart, the masculine is that of the minds. Perhaps also part of the ego, which is also a very important aspect of human consciousness. The ego is of personal identity. It is bringing everything here into reality, you know, as the feminine, it guides, the masculine gives structure. This is the whole idea. So it's all about logic, rationality, action, purpose, external, and the feminine is internal. But here's the thing, we have examples in our life. We grow up with two parents, if we were lucky, and that is not given to luck either. And that all depends really also, of course, about the dynamics of both your parents, their relationship dynamics and their projections upon you. But this is planet pain. And if you like it or not, we all experience trauma within our childhood, if you like it or not. The soul is here, has incarnated here to experience that so it can evolve. And whether you have experienced levels of emotional abuse or neglect or rejection or you name it, we have experienced something that has formed us. Now, we had examples in our life, and that really showed us the image of a feminine mother or a masculine father, or a feminine father and a masculine mother. It's all about these different kind of dynamics. But here's the thing, not all marriages goes as planned. People divorce, marriages break up, and the children are somewhat in between. It was exactly my case as well, when my parents divorced. My mother, she was in panic, and she decided to move all the way out to the other side of the province, and I decided, you know what, I need to stay here at my place. I was living at a town across the pond, across this beautiful national park, a sea called the Oosterschelde or the Easterschelde National Park right now. And I decided I need to stay there at that place. But I was 10 years old and I was walking away a couple of times until my dad decided, you know what, I'm going to hire a lawyer because I need to win the custody over you. So I had my first case in courthouse when I was around 11 years old. And then the judge and the lawyers, they decided, you know what, a child of that age, 11 years old, should not have the freedom to decide where he wants to live. And therefore we believe the child has been manipulated by the father, so to speak. So we went into higher courts. So I had my second case in the courthouse when I was 12. I had to say, I want to live with my dad because of this. I said, alright, that's fine, you can stay with your dad, but we're going to put you in a child protection scheme. And every couple of weeks you're going to receive a social worker from Child Protection Services to see how well you're doing, because once again, we believe you are negative influenced by your father. Because we think he has a narcissistic personality disorder or something like that. So yeah, this lasted until I was 16. But of course, my dad, he was in a complete outrage. Of course, also because of my younger brother, who moved in with my mother. And there was this constant power dynamics and control dynamics. And this was my household, basically. He was always out there in anger, rage, frustration, victimhood. And he lost control. He lost control, distracted himself with lots of alcohol, more aggression, more violence. So the example that I had of the father, it was absence, emotional neglect, emotional rejection. And these patterns that you receive, that you absorb as a child, it forms you. It builds your identity. It becomes part of who you think you are and who you think you should be. We can go and make a very long list of all the examples, but I think you get the picture. We all had our experiences. So what happened to me, because I was only influenced by my dad? Of course, I leaned completely more to an out of balance, masculine kind of energy. And what that meant? It meant that I was very, very cold. I was emotionally cold. I was very, very numb. Emotional numb, because of all the pain that I absorbed, the anger, the aggression. What happened? I built up armors, lots and lots of armors, not to feel, because I was so sensitive. I always have been very sensitive, to push out the pain. And that's what a lot of fighters do. You know, they build up an armor to fight in order to survive, and that becomes part of the role, the identity you're building up, to become a fighter, to become a survivor. And this survival mechanism, because if your household never felt safe, secure, you go into a never-ending survival mind. Maybe that's where the ADHD is coming from, the hypersensitivity, hyperactivity disorder. That is always on an alert, like a hunter who always had to be in alert. Could that be danger? Could that be prey? And this becomes our role, our whole kind of behavior. Hypersensitive, hyperactive to our external reality, to external triggers, dangers, influences and such. And we lean all the way to the unhealthy masculine kind of role. We blame women. Women are, you know, dangerous, because that's what we like to believe. You know, men who have been hurt by women, they become aggressive, but also, like, you know, the woman, they are the fault of everything for their pain and their whole existence. So the feminine, it gets really, really pushed away, neglected, rejected, like, you know, we cannot accept femininity. And we as the masculine, we become very, very cold, and perhaps even a little bit more narcissistic as well. And we become very tough as well. And you know, we distract ourselves in work, career, success, external things, because if we have the external things, the external success, that will identify us. So our whole identity goes along with it. But then I had a wake-up call. Yes, you name it, burnout. Eventually the universe wanted to cause me, to push me off a cliff that I was completely out of balance. And this whole burnout kind of whole thing, it got me into spirituality, spiritual healing, spirit coaching, and Kundalini, family consultations and all of that. And I started to break down my armor, open up emotionally. And yeah, this turns everything completely upside down. And I completely turned more to the feminine part. I became a feminine man. I became very codependent because I felt I had no more power. I lost all my power because I was so in a power struggle with myself to prove my worth through accomplishments that it cost nothing more than emotional exhaustion, and I had no more strength, I had no more power. I didn't know who I was. I had to break down my whole ego. I was going through a whole ego identity crisis that lasted a freaking fucking long time, and I'm slowly coming out of it, but still it plays a long part of it. So yeah, been into a codependent relationship for over a decade where I had no power. I was dependent on someone else, financially, emotionally, and yeah, they are other kind of patterns as well. So that's the other dynamic that we have, especially men with the father wound. Eventually they turn more into becoming a more feminized man. Now, no right or wrong, this is just like part of the process, part of the awakening, part of the journey. Eventually we have to come into balance, where we do have both a balance of masculine and feminine energy. So what can we do? And what I did eventually is to write a letter. Write a letter to your father figure, about your father wound. And that's exactly what I've done. How you have been feeling all this time, months, years. If you want, I made a recording back at my home, and you know, just as an example, if you want to read it, up to you. If you want to listen to it, up to you. And then eventually it is really like, okay, so the behaviors that you found that were not healthy at all, just say it, mention it. The victimization, the power struggles, the violence, the aggression, the emotional abuse, physical abuse, neglect, you were never seen, never recognized, you name it, you know. And then eventually it's just closing down. Thank you for all your lessons and teachings. I give back what's yours, and I take back what's mine. With lots of love, your son, Jean-Paul. There's only one thing left: to cut the cords, break down the patterns, to further go into our transformation, to take back what's ours to begin with. That what always has been there but has been forgotten, has been suppressed by all this time. It is like uncovering all these layers of dirt and mud. Eventually is to initiate ourselves. So what we do now is let's go and burn it. And then another thing, which is also a good one, is I done a rune reading as well, with a shamanic healing journey, which I do often on a regular basis. But this is also, of course, what you can get for yourself to gain insights in where you are at in your soul's journey, and then do a healing journey with it together, which is very, very powerful, and it can definitely help us. There's never like one quick solution that solves everything. There's not a get rich quick kind of solution, like take a pill for the ill and all your problems are done. No, this is a continuous process, but every process is like another turning point, another stepping stone towards your authentic self, and that's really the journey that we are on. So with no further ado, I'm going to burn this one, and yeah, see you in one of my next videos, my rune reading that complement this one and the healing journey as well. And yeah, I see you in the next one. Take care for now.